All right, we're going to try again. Something happened here with my internet. So let me know if you're here. It is Tuesday Talks at 10:30. And I will wait for a minute. Let me see if you're on. I'm going to see if I can see you on my other phone. For some reason it disconnected. Okay. I think we're on now. Hi Trudy. Hey Kinsey, how you doing? So this is Tuesday Talks at 10:30. I'm Stacy Needenthal. I come to you every Tuesday at 10:30 and talk to you about different things. We talk about grieving. We talk about death. We talk about meditation. Good morning, Christopher. Not sure what happened to my signal here a little while ago, but we're gonna try again. And it is Fat Tuesday. Happy Donut Day, right? How's everybody doing today? Hi, Ashley. Oh my goodness. So I'm in Bel Air, Maryland. I'm here until Wednesday doing privates, doing readings, doing groups. We had an amazing group last night, and the privates I did yesterday were just such a blessing, and got more coming up today. Group reading tonight. And then Wednesday night, tomorrow night, we're doing a group past life regression at the Center for Trauma, which I'm really excited about. There are still a few seats available in that past life regression if you're interested in joining us. I will be back in Bel Air in March, the 27th through the 29th. So there's some privates available then. The 28th and the 29th, I'm doing intimate groups here in Bel Air. So like I said, if you're interested, just reach out and let us know. Booking in Chambersburg, a few left for February, not many. A few in March, and basically looking at April. So, goodness, like I said, it is Fat Tuesday, Donut Day, Mardi Gras, all the fun stuff. So I thought, what a good day to talk about recipes, right? So we're going to talk about that. But first, let me set my intention. I'm going to turn this off. If you hear the dog drinking over there, it's not me. It is, trying to see, that's Benny over there drinking. So my name is Stacy. I'm a child of God, spiritual healer, psychic medium, and I've been given a gift from God to channel spirit using love and light for my higher good and the higher good of those that God puts in my path. I'm not the medium that says I see death all around you and you're going to be dead in 10 days. My gift, my prayer is that God, that spirit, that angels bring in the most loving message to help your spirit heal. If you were to book a private with me, this is part of the intention that you would hear from me. There is more, but I just like to set that up so my guides basically know that I am open and ready to channel and listen, so that they can add in the things that I already wanted to talk about. So, goodness, Benny is thirsty this morning. So there's a quote by Thomas Keller, and the quote goes, "A recipe has no soul. You, as the cook, must bring soul to the recipe." When you think about a recipe, it's full of a bunch of ingredients. You know, you put a little bit of this, you put a little bit of this, you mix it up, you add this, you know, there's all these different things that you put into a recipe. And when you're adding these things, you don't know if it's going to be good, you don't know if it's going to be great, you don't know if it's going to be right, but you continue to add these things. There's so many things that can go wrong in your recipe. You could add too much, you could add too little. Your temperature might not be right. You know, you might burn the thing that you're making, or it might be undercooked. But when you think about yourself, you were created by the master chef, the King of Kings. You are part of his creation. And how you think, how you love, how you talk, how you act, that's the soul and the spirit and the energy of what's within you. So that's your own recipe. You are the chef of your own life. You were created by the master chef, but he gives you free will to do and say the things that you want to. And you know, when I looked at this, I wanted to think about what are some ingredients in our life that is part of our own recipe. So we're going to talk about that. If this is the first time you've been on, put a 1. Let me know where you're watching from. I always like to see where you're watching from. And hello, Jill and Noreen and Christopher. So some of the ingredients that, there's always like, okay, so you're making pasta. So there's always a title, basically, to what you're making. There's a name of it. And I feel like our recipe title would be thankfulness. How do we get to thankfulness? How does our soul, how does our energy, how does our spirit get to thankfulness, right? So the ingredients that I was thinking about so that the outcome, the final recipe would be thankfulness is, first you have the dream. What do you want to be? What do you want to create? What do you want to evolve to be? So first we've got the dream. And then we add the thought of the dream and how it is going to be planned out. What steps are we going to take? We add a pinch, we add a cup, however you want to say it, of prayer and meditation. So the dream takes the thought and it takes prayer and meditation. Once you have done that, then you set your intentions. So you're setting your temperature gauge, right? On your oven, basically. You're setting your intention. How long do I want this to cook for? What is my full intention? What do I want the outcome to be? Then you create your path. Creating your path is you're adding all these things in your pan, you're stirring it all up, you're thinking about it, you're meditating about it, and then you add action to it. Because if you just dump a bunch of ingredients into a bowl and you don't mix them up, all you have is a big clump of nothing. Think about it. If you're making something and you have flour and you have eggs and you have milk and you just take that and don't mix it and then you put it in a pan and you bake it, you're not going to have what you need. So you have to put action behind your path, behind your intention. And what that does is that creates your journey. Oh, come on. There we go. So when you create your journey gives you your experience. So just like if you're kneading dough, that's that action, right? And then the dough comes together. It's either really sticky, really dry, or just right. So what's the experience? This is what's giving you the experience, this action, this path, this growth behind it. And when you're doing that, you're learning lessons. Do I need to add more flour? Do I need to add more milk? What do I need to add to it? So that you have the destination, the finale. Is it a victory? Is it defeat? And this is all going to create feelings and emotions that we need to find the blessings in, which then will bring us to thankfulness. Everything we should do, everything we do, we should strive to create thankfulness. Even in the chaos, there is thankfulness. Sometimes it's hard to find that thankfulness. Just like the recipes have different ingredients, different measurements. It takes time to do certain things. Sometimes you have to let something sit overnight before you can add things to it. That's the same thing as the dream. The ingredients of our life, of our spirit, of our soul, of our energy. It takes time. It takes do-over sometime. I have a friend of mine who, when she makes a new cake, she'll make two. One's a test cake and one's the real cake. So it's adding things. You may not get it right the first time. Things may be out of your control, but you are the chef of your own life. You are the only one that can add these ingredients. But sometimes you need to reset, because sometimes other people add things, sometimes things are taken away. And when you think about your recipe, if you don't have the right ingredient, you might substitute something for one thing. That's kind of how life is as well. We plan something, we have a clear vision of how something is going to be, and then all of a sudden something happens that is unexpected. Someone shows up, or something doesn't turn out quite right. Things are taken and things are given to us that we have to figure out how we're going to mix this into our own recipe, into our own soul, into our own spirit. And we want to continue to mix and to blend what we need. Because when you think about that quote that I just said, it says, a recipe has no soul. You, as the cook, must bring the soul to the recipe. So if I myself am the cook and my life is the outcome, what ingredients do I want in my life? Am I able to go back and rethink about different ingredients? When something goes wonky in my life, the first ingredient I go back to is prayer and meditation. Do I need to meditate more on what the outcome needs to be? Do I need to make more of a thought process? Do I need other people involved in my outcome? Do I need help? So I'm going back to thought, I'm going back to meditation, I'm going back to prayer. And these are the ingredients that you can start over with. You can go back basically to the beginning of your recipe. You can go back to what the dream is. Oh, hi, baby. You can go back to what the dream is. You can go back to what the thought process is. You can go back to prayer and meditation. Because the master chef, God, is going to help you do the things that needs to be done. So you need to sometimes go back to that prayer and that meditation. With a regular recipe, you can't always go back and take things out. Once you've started mixing things in, you can't take things out. But with your own life, you can add and you can take things out as you need. So adding that prayer and meditation to the process. Thinking about what lessons did we learn during the mixing of the ingredients. What was added? What was taken away? What was under our control? What was out of our control? What lessons did we learn? What blessings were there for us to pick up and think about? That's all part of that whole experience, and in finding that blessing, even in the chaos. You've got all this stuff that you're mixing together. That can create chaos. So it's finding those blessings, even in the chaos, so that you can find out what you're thankful for. I've been through so many experiences in my life, and I'm sure all of you have been as well. Some have been really awesome experiences. Some have been really crappy experiences. But they were experiences who molded me into the person that I am right now, into who I am at this moment in this time and space. So sometimes you have to think, wow, okay, I'm thinking back to what I did back then. Did I miss a step? Did I forget something? What was my original thought behind my action? Did I actually even think about it, or did I just freaking do it? What was my original intention? This is all part of your recipe, that you are creating the most loving and your best person that you can be. Even if things are added or taken from your life, from your experience, it's looking back at the path, looking back at the journey, looking back at the experience, the original intention, meditating and praying about it, and putting action behind it. With no action, there's not going to be a finale. There's not going to be a destination. There's not going to be that feeling at the end of something that I have accomplished, right? So you are creating your dream, your life, your energy, your actions. You are the only one that can control that. You're the cook. You're the chef, right? So going back to prayer and meditation, for me, is always the best place to go back. When I get all bunched up about something, or I get kind of like, what do you want to call it? Anxious or out of sorts about something. Sometimes I'll just sit back and take a deep breath, rethink it, pray about it, think about what my intention was, and then think about what I need to add, what I need to subtract to that. Sometimes there's, like I said, sometimes we need to add people into our life to help. Sometimes we need to back away from people. Sometimes things are dumped into our laps that we weren't expecting. What are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with this? If somebody adds too much of something to a recipe, there's always a counteraction that you can do to overcome what has just been dumped into your recipe. Same with your life, same with your spirit and your energy. What can I do to counteract this? What can I do to get back on the path, get back on the journey, taking that action through thoughts, through prayer, through meditation? Let's see, sometimes you have to change your path, taking action, enjoying the journey. That to me is the big key. Are you enjoying the journey that you're on? Are you enjoying your life? If you're not enjoying your life, we need to think about a new intention. You need to think about a new path to be on. We are here for such a very short time, moment in space, basically, of this life, to leave a footprint of what you've accomplished, to leave tenderness on other people's hearts. That if you are a miserable person and you always are in a negative mood and you're always upset about something and you can't find the goodness in anything, you know what? Somebody added some pepper into your recipe, something bitter in there. It's rolling back, and we've talked about this before. It's going back to that moment in time where things changed. And that will come to you. When you ask someone, well, what happened? If they say to you, I don't know. I don't know what happened. They know. It's maybe buried deep down. But if you say to them, okay, can you remember the last time you were really happy? Can you say to me, when was the last time you really enjoyed the things that you were doing? They will be able to go back and say, oh my gosh, I had this friend come over, I ran into someone, whatever the situation is. What happened after that? And they may think for a minute and go, oh my God, I know what it was. So this is something that was added to the recipe secretly, basically, that subconsciously they buried down deep within themselves and never healed through it. So it's calling that ingredient back up to the surface so that we can work through it. We can knead it into the recipe or add something that will take that bad flavor out of the recipe so that we can work through it and find happiness. Because truly, don't you want to live a happy life? Don't you want to accomplish things? It doesn't have to be big things. Don't you want to celebrate with your family and friends? Don't you want to be happy? I can't believe that there are people out there that actually want to be miserable all their lives, that want to be a victim, that want to be angry all the time. I can't believe that that is what they choose. I feel as if they choose that because they can't put their finger on what happened. So it's going back into the recipe, what was dumped into the recipe that got it all wonky. It's going back. It's going back to the original dream. It's going back to the thought process. It's going back to prayer and meditation. It's going back to setting the intention, what the path was. Where did it go wrong? Where did I get off of the path? Sometimes you have all these ideas and all these things that you want to do, but then you procrastinate about it. Well, if you're procrastinating about it, there's no action behind it. Nothing is going to just magically appear for you. I'm sorry. I wish it would. Nothing magically appears. We as humans are entitled to nothing that we don't work for, work through, create. No one is just going to come over and say, here's $1 million, do with it what you want. No one's going to come over and drop a happy life into your hands. It's something that you constantly have to work through. You have to adjust the recipe and the ingredients and the things that you're putting in this. What was that quote? Hold on, I have to go back to that quote. I should have written it on something else. The quote said, a recipe has no soul. You, as the cook, must bring the soul to the recipe. So the recipe has no soul. But guess what? You do. I do. We have soul, we have spirit, we have energy. Our soul was created before we were even born, basically. Our soul has regenerated all these actions, all these memories from wherever. You know, if I think about things, I can't remember my life at 2 and 3 and 4 years old and what I did, but I can remember certain events that have created that memory in my soul. And why is that memory so important to me? So then I go back and I think about, why is that memory so important to me? And it gives me that thought process, that meditation, that prayer, where I say, all right, God, why am I remembering this? Why is this important? What lesson am I learning from this? What ingredient does this add to my life? Because our life is combined with so many different ingredients, some good, some bad. But here's the thing, we still have to mix it up within ourselves and create joy and happiness and grace and humility. And you know, it's one of those things, and we've talked about this before. When you lose someone who's super important to you, whether it's a parent, whether it's a child, whether it's a spouse, when you lose someone that's important to you, like, that's not part of the recipe. Someone just took out an ingredient in your life. And you think to yourself, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna live without this person? And the easiest comeback for that is, you're already doing it. You will find your way through prayer, through meditation, through action, through one step at a time. Will it always be easy? Nope. Life is not always easy. The things that we work for the hardest, the things that we cherish the most, those are the things that are so important to us. And when I think about what I was just saying a minute ago, you know, we don't always remember what happened. I mean, even 10 years ago, I may not remember what happened, but there's certain memories that pop up in my mind that I remember. You know, one of my grandchildren being born. I have a 10-year-old, grandson. You know, that was an important part of my life. You know, why was that important? Oh my gosh, because my child had a child. You know, this is love. They created this. They became a parent. You know, and then I have to reflect back, what were the ingredients that I gave to my children to instill in their grandchildren? And they look at the ingredients that I gave to them and think, well, I'm not doing what mom did with this, but I'm definitely doing what mom did with this. Make sense? So that soul that is within us, that a recipe doesn't have, but the chef, the cook, has the soul. God, I hope this is making sense, because I feel like I'm on fire with this. You are in charge of that. It is okay for you to put boundaries up. It is okay for you to be uncomfortable in certain situations. It's all a learning experience. We were created through love, by love, to give love. Make sense? Our master chef, creator, created us, put us all together, put us out in the world. And then what we add to that is totally up to us. And when we are surprised with something that has been thrown into our life or taken out of our life, it's time to go back to those ingredients. Prayer, meditation. What path am I on? What journey do I want to be on? What experiences do I want to learn? Where can I find thankfulness? My husband and I, he had a doctor's appointment the other day. And I can't remember what the situation was, but I said to him, well, I brought a positive note into the situation. And he just looked at me and he goes, what have I told you about always being positive? You don't always need to be positive. And then we just kind of laughed about it, because there's always a positive thing to find, even in the chaos. Even in the chaos, there is some positivity to find. You may have to look hard for it. You know, when you put a pinch of salt in something and you think, well, that's not going to make much of a difference. But when you eat that chocolate chip cookie, you can taste just a hint of salt. So even if it's just a hint of something in your life, it's going to make a difference. It's being in control, being in that place of self within yourself, where my ultimate outcome is thankfulness, blessings, giving, receiving, whatever your major finale is going to be. What's your path? If time and money, and you hear me say this all the time, if time and money were no issue, what would you be doing right now? What would you do? And think about that. Well, is that something that I can actually create? Let me pray about that. Let me meditate about that. Let me see if I can get direction on that. Let me see if there's an action that I can put behind that. And we talked, there was a client that I had a couple years ago. And I remember saying to her, because she was just kind of lost in where she was at. And I remember saying to her, if time and money were no issue, what would you be doing right now? And she said, well, I don't know what I'd be doing, but it just aggravates me that kids in the United States are hungry. It bothers me. I want to feed the children of the world. So I remember saying to her, okay, that's a big dream, and I love that dream. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay? So we went of the world. So she lived in, where did she live? I think she lived in Massachusetts. And I said, okay, so let's make it smaller. Let's just look at the state. And she goes, okay, I want to help feed the kids in Massachusetts. I said, okay, let's make it just a little bit smaller. Okay, I want to, and we kept bringing it down a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And she finally got to the point, she was like, oh my gosh, I could go into the school systems that are around me, and I could say, I want to pay for the kids who are behind on their lunches. Or I want to pay for everybody's lunches. She was very financially stable. And that was the first step that she took. So every year she goes in and she clears out the debt, basically. She wants to make sure that no child at school doesn't have lunch. And the school district knows, and it's more than one school district that she deals with. I don't know if it's all of them in her county. I don't know if it's all of them in their state. But they will contact her if there's a child that is behind and they just know that she's just going to take care of this. She's unknown to the children. She's unknown to the parents. But this is something that she felt very compelled to do. And I haven't spoken to her in a while, so I don't know if she's expanded to anything else. But when you think about what your big dreams are, let's make it a little bit smaller so that it's doable. And once you get that rolling, then we can look at something else. So maybe she's taking care of the schools that are in Massachusetts. And now she's found a way that she can take care of the students in Pennsylvania. It's one thing at a time. She's adding these little ingredients so that she can find thankfulness in the things that she does. It really bothered her. It really laid heavy on her heart that kids in the U.S. were going hungry. Is this is this a solution for the world? Absolutely not, but it's a step. It's one ingredient. And that's all she needed, was one ingredient. And it keeps adding to that and adding to that. That's what our life is. One ingredient at a time. What is your dream? Time and money were no object. What would you want to do? And if it seems doable, meditate about it, pray about it, put some action behind it, think about the path and work through it and do it. If something gets thrown in there, think about the other path. How can I work around this? Right? If that dream seems too big, bring the dream in a little bit. What is actually doable from this dream? What is actually doable? And then move forward with that. We all have recipes. We all have ingredients in our lives. The ultimate, to me, the ultimate thing that you are cooking up, that you are baking, that you are making, is thankfulness, is positive change in this world. In this world that has gotten kind of wonky here lately, it's that impact. You know, if you can impact one person, you've impacted the world. Because that one person will impact someone else, who will impact someone else, who will impact someone else. We talked in November of thankfulness. And then we talked in December of, what do you want to call it? Random acts of kindness. So you do a random act of kindness for someone and they're like, how can I repay you? I don't want you to repay me. I just want you to do a random act of kindness for someone else. Make sense? What's in your recipe? Because a recipe has no soul. You are the cook. You must bring the soul to the recipe. Part of your ingredients, and you can add and take away from any of this. But when I'm looking at the recipe in my life, I even wrote it down. I've got the dream, the thought, the prayer, the meditation, the intention, the path, the action, the journey, the experience, the lessons, the destination, the finale, the feelings, the blessings, and the thankfulness. There it is. I hope this makes sense. I just really felt, I'm here at Denise's and she's like, she left this morning for an appointment. She goes, what are you going to talk about today? And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. Haven't really thought about it. Last night I was tired after all the readings. I just went to bed. And I came across this quote, you know, a recipe has no soul. You as the cook must bring the recipe. And I had written down a couple nights ago, like just these steps, you know, the dream, the thought, what we were just talking about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, those two go together so well. That's what I'm going to talk about today. Sorry about that. I couldn't get my other phone working. So that is Tuesday Talks at 10:30. What's the recipe? I'm probably aging myself, but when you think about the sisters of the Waltons, you know, they always had the special recipe. What's your special recipe? What do you want to add? What do you want to take out? What's been added that now you have to deal with? What's been taken away that now you have to work through? Because you, as the cook, must bring soul to the recipe. So, everybody, that is my talk for today. We're talking about the recipe. I'm in Bel Air, Maryland, until Wednesday. Everything is basically sold out, except we do have a few seats that are still available for the group Past Life Regression tomorrow night. I will be back in March. March 28th, 29th is groups. Let's see. But I'm at the 27th, 28th, and 29th. I will be in Bel Air, Maryland. I've got some privates available, 2 groups, the 28th and the 29th. Pretty much sold out on my privates in Chambersburg for February. March, I still have a few, but I'm booking in April. So if you are interested in booking a session with me or you want to host a group, you know, you can email me. You can go on my website and send me a message. But I hope each and every one of you have a great day. It's Fat Tuesday. What a good day to talk about the recipe. Go get your donuts, right? Go munch on your donuts. And, you know, if you're not living the life you love and loving the life you live, you're the only one that can change it. Let's mix up that recipe. Let's add some ingredients. I hope you all have a great and wonderful day today. I will see you next Tuesday. Peace out. I love you. And see you next week. All right. Bye-bye.